Hi, my name's Mike Bennie. I'm co-owner of P&V Wine and Liquor Merchants, and I welcome you into this space to learn a little bit about food and drink matching.
Rolling, set, action.
So working with drinks, matches and lamb is really fun. For me, lamb is a really versatile palate in terms of its flavor profile, its varied textures, its ability to give essence of the flavor of the meat while also taking on seasoning in a gentle or in a really dramatic way. And in all of that, it means you've got a kaleidoscope of things that you can use in the glass to make that dish really sing. Some of the don'ts, and I'll start with them, and of course there are no real don'ts, but some of the don'ts for me are the ease of reaching for that dusty old bottle from the cellar. The big bold reds that you think will go with lamb typically overwhelm the delicacy and sweetness of flavor that you get from lamb. I like elevating lamb by using lighter, fresher styles of wine. I love the idea of complementing lamb with things like cider. Apple and lamb kind of go kindred together. And I really enjoy the idea of using sour and bitter profiles, again, to kind of work in more dimensions alongside the sweeter meat that comes with cooking lamb dishes. So summery times spells lamb barbecues for me, and I'm cooking over a grill. I think it's ubiquitous to have something like a can in hand, and so looking to beer is an easy mode for grilling, say, things like chops or sausages or making patties with lamb mince. And I'm pretty excited about the idea that there's quite a lot of wine now appearing in can that makes great use of a single serve for an individual like myself, or at the same time can be shared between glasses as people socialize and cook that lamb. Okay, here we are with Chef Leila from P&V Wine and Liquor Merchants, ready to get into lamb, which she's been in the kitchen working with, and one of your favorites, as I understand as well.
Absolutely, yeah. And using like some lesser known cuts, so we've got this first one here, really fun for summer, lamb neck salad. So lamb neck that I've cooked in the oven for about 12 hours at a really low temperature. And then I've just crisped it up at a higher temperature, and I've tossed it in a salad with some frisee, anchovy, mint and fennel. So super light, like a nice fattiness that kind of adds to the vinaigrette of the salad.
I love salad. I love how that can start a meal, and I love how that leads into other things. So I thought I'd match two lighter style beverages, one being a cider, and there's that satisfying crack. And it's basically a very classic, simple, dry style cider, but with enough appley fruitiness that it'll be really pleasing, I hope, alongside this dish, just to lend actually a little bit of apple, almost like you've got slices of apple on top of it. And then, interesting, I don't mind alternative packaging. There's another satisfying crack. And the pet nat here is frisky with its bubble. The little pink hue looks pretty with it all.
Oh, it does.
A rosé and lamb, particularly salad in spring, summer, is a really wonderful thing. And so I thought I'd treat us with these two quite distinct, but also, I guess it's a kindred fruitier beverages to go with this salad. It's delicious. I like the light bitterness of the leaves. Again, a kind of refreshment factor.
Yeah, yum with this.
And with, it's almost, as I said, like having apple slices or a little bit of grated apple on top. Not that I'm messing with your recipe, I'm just suggesting that.
No, that's a really nice pairing.
Pet nat, for those that don't know, is short for pétillant natural, which is an expression that describes sparkling wine styles that are made naturally. So the idea being that the fermentation of the grape juice is occurring, and then at a point during that fermentation process, the wine is captured within a vessel, and the fermentation continues. A byproduct of fermentation is carbon dioxide, so it self-carbonates itself. A lively, refreshing style like this, and rosé pink just looks beautiful with lamb. I think those hues of pink and rosé coloured wine is just a fabulous thing in a spring or summer lamb dish. And that's got some pleasing bitterness too. I'm almost leaning more into the pet nat here.
Really, I prefer the cider. I think they're doing similar things, and they're both adding like a lot more crispness and freshness to the salad, which is nice. Like I could imagine taking a can of those and putting it in my bag and having like lamb neck salad in my bag, in my picnic basket, and just whipping that out.
Yeah.
Next dish that we have, we've got crispy lamb tongue, and it's on a bed of, I call them sabzi lentils. So sabzi in Iranian or in Farsi just means green, and these greens are fenugreek leaves, coriander, parsley, and the lentils are cooked with some dried lime, so the lentils are quite sour and the lamb tongue is super fatty.
So a nice balance of things on the plate. And again, this is not too complicated to cook. I mean, it's something...
absolutely not. No,
yeah, which is beautiful. The inherent simplicity, but lots of flavour.
Yeah.
And then that great texture. And I think something as interesting as lamb tongue is such a great thing to pull out for a dinner party or for an occasion. And yet affordable and beautiful in terms of its flavour profile, and something that a lot of people would be surprised that they'd really enjoy. I thought sake would be something interesting to work with in terms of this dish. Most people think sake is a beverage that you drink at 2 a.m, screaming "Sweet Child of Mine" in a karaoke joint. But in reality, it's actually one of the most versatile beverages you can possibly imagine for any phase of a dining experience. Sake goes with obviously raw things like raw seafood, indeed things like carpaccio and crudo and similar, right through to really slow cooked, very fatty dishes, because the inherent acidity in sake is really high. Alongside that, I love the creaminess of texture that comes with great sake, and then an array of flavours that run sort of from savoury nuttiness through to almost rice pudding characters, citrus, florals. So it's this cornucopia of stuff going on. And it ends up being something quite amazing and almost, you know, bright starbursts of energy when you drink it, when you're having a dish like this. Or so I hope. And then alongside that, a little bit traditional, but I went for Chardonnay. This is a fuller flavoured Chardonnay. It has a couple of years extra bottle age. The idea that Chardonnay is coming back into vogue from a long hiatus in which people ran away from fuller flavoured Chardonnay particularly, but the generosity of flavour cut with really bright acidity. I just thought lovely with the texture of the lamb tongue, and then with the array of spices and herbs, just gives you this bolstering richness and then a thrust of this minerally saline charm through it all that just is almost like another sprinkle of salt.
Right, let's have a taste.
The herbs, the lemony zing through the lentils, and you're right, the lamb tongue is almost like a backdrop. It's texture, it's a richness, a little bit of sweetness, just delightful. Right, Chardonnay? It's interesting, lamb so often people think is purely a red meat, red wine kind of pairing zone. White wine with some richness and body and then freshness just works wonderfully. And citrus in both. And then a bit of unctuousness like the lamb and the texture of the Chardonnay, and just sort of all finds itself quite harmonious, I think, in the end. Now sake, this could be the wild card. Are you willing?
Oh, absolutely.
Ready? It's so clean and so pure feeling.
Yeah, I almost think that's like what this dish needs.
That vivid, really bright line of acidity. My mouth is just wiped slate clean.
Yeah, there's so much contrast between the sake and this dish, whereas here I almost feel like there's a lot of similarities, and it's kind of nice to have the citrus there, but this is just, quite cleansing and really nice to have alongside. All right, so here we've got whole braised lamb shoulder, just done in the oven with some preserved lemon, some chickpeas, silver beet, and lots of sweet onions.
Now, I don't typically do traditional drinks matchings, as you know, but Cabernet Franc and lamb, I think they were married in a past life. Cabernet Franc is the sort of lighter, more herbal version of Cabernet Sauvignon, which I think a lot of people would be very familiar with. But Cabernet Franc, when you get the right one, and it's a lot of them, ends up being almost like having a string of bouquet garni ripped through it. Wild herbs, a lot of pepper, your rosemaries, basils, sage leaf and similar, and that herbaceousness that comes with Cabernet Franc, plus its natural higher acidity and typically usually found at medium to lower alcohols. With lamb, it doesn't overwhelm it like some bigger reds would, and it gives it this amazing little dressing of greenery that I think lamb loves. And so I like launching into Cab Franc, and that's what I'm pouring today as the red wine component for these for this dish. A little splash there.
Stunning.
Excellent. Nice colour. It's almost like transparent garnet ruby kind of colour. And then Slightly out of the box, this is a wild ferment ale. A lot of people use the words wild ferment. A lot of people use the word sour beer. That's a pretty big category and quite nebulous in terms of diving into it. But if you do go and ask for a wild beer, a wild ferment beer, or a properly made sour beer, you're getting much closer to what's going to be the best match for this dish in terms of a beer and lamb matching. The idea that acid profile in beer is so important, and it is bitter, but it's pleasingly so. It's an easy strike across the palate as you take in those rich, unctuous mouthfuls of lamb. Silver beet has a nice little bit of green bitterness to it as well, and the chickpea nuttiness, and all that just sort of gets washed around in this almost cleansing salve of beer, which a lot of people would find quite surprising, but I think it works quite well here. You need something pleasurable here that, again, makes sure that each mouthful, the focus is the plate, the thing in the glass does its job to cleanse. But here, I like that line of herbal character and pepper that just layers another sense of seasoning into this dish.